Now it's time to expand your knowledge about Billund Airport in NS3 presentation, how to control Billund as an approach controller. For this presentation, we will assume you know everything about the S2 port. So if you're rusty, study up by watching the S2 presentation on Billund. Anyway, this will be a short presentation. We'll look at the following things: airspace classes, including controlling airspeed and sounding, departures and arrivals. So let's dig into the basic structure. You now have boxes of approach airspace. Tower, you only had one from the ground to 1500 feet. Very easy. Now, as approach in Billund, first of all, you have a airspeed and sounding as well. We'll get back to them a little bit later. However, you have approach boxes on top of it. In Billund, you have a total of 4 boxes stacked on top. First of all, you have one directly on top of the control zone from 1500 to 2500. You get a bigger one around from 25 to flight level 45, an even bigger one flight level 45 to 75, and then a top one stretching from flight level 75 all the way up to flight level 105. Converted to a top-down view, it will look like this: 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes on top of each other. Take a look at this VFR map to familiarize yourself with how the airspace goes up. This is airspace class Charlie, which means, of course, even more restrictions. No VFR without permission, and everyone must squawk mode Charlie and must be identified. Where in class Delta, you're only responsible for separating the IFR from another IFR. Now you're also responsible for separating VFR from IFR and vice versa. VFR and VFR are still not separated, just keep that in mind. This doesn't mean your airspace is finished here actually, because there is another term as well. This is called an LTA, which means that you actually do control a little bit more than just the TMA. Be aware that what we went through, this was the TMA. This remained unchanged. But some little bit more airspace, not even the airspace class Charlie, but a little bit of class Echo is located around your TMA, which is controlled by Billund approach. In the Danish map, you see these LTAs all around Jutland, which is giving areas responsibility to the local traffic controller. Therefore, while your TMA goes to flight level 105, actually, your area of responsibility goes to flight level 125, which is what is used between departures and arrivals. Another thing which you have to get introduced to is the TIZ, the Traffic Information Zone. These are class Gulf zones with AFIS service for small airfields. Normally, these are located for Esbjerg and Stauning. I know, it's a lot of designators. Let's just take a look at them real quick. It's the TMA, Terminal Airspace Class Charlie, where you vector the aircraft in. You have the Traffic Information Area, which is Class Golf, where your AFIS service, like in Esbjerg and Stauning. Keep in mind, TIA, TIZ is the same, Traffic Information Area, Traffic Information Zone. You have the LTA, your Local Terminal Airspace, which is designated to you by Copenhagen Control and which covers the entire area. For departures, this means that you do get them from the Billund Tower after departure, and you should know, of course, they're cleared via the SID and they're sent to flight level 60. You may now climb them further. Since your airspace stops at flight level 125, you may clear them to a maximum of flight level 120. This is the highest level still within your airspace. You are here also allowed to send them direct as far as the termination point of their SID, which means the point that the SID is named after. As they get clear from the area and approaches flight level 120, you need to hand them over to Copenhagen Control by appropriately executed transfer of control and the transfer of communication. Keep these two in mind: transfer of control, transfer of communication. They're explained in the Euroscope presentation. It's pretty simple, however, it's important to know. The biggest error of S3 students normally is to remember to transfer departures in time. You must transfer in time either before the end of your airspace or before the top of your airspace, whichever is earlier. Looking just quick at the arrivals, it's the same structure. Since you have an area of responsibility on flight until flight level 125, you get aircraft from Copenhagen at flight level 130 normally. Here you must know that Billund has no stars. Aircrafts are approaching the last point of their flight plan, and then they expect vectors, or they be giving to one of the two direct points, which normally is located on the final, either Loksa or Gelba. These are two very important points that you can use to expedite aircraft into Billund as you go online to accommodate the routings with no star. A quick note is that these are not the only 2 points. Actually, there are several points around Billund. You can study the chart yourself and find out the names of these ones. You may choose to move the aircraft in via vectors to final approach. Then normally there is start to final approach at 3,000 feet. Remember, you could also descend them lower if you like, for example to 2,000 feet. Just remember there is a trap in Billund you have to be aware of. That's around the minimum safe altitude, or the minimum sector altitude, which compared to other places in Denmark, in Billund it's actually greater than 2,000 feet, actually specifically 2,300. So you may not descend anyone in the area below 2,300 feet. Unless, of course, you are absolutely sure that there are no obstacle that can pose a threat to your pilot. Another thing, just a small physiology thing, is if you decide to set them below the MSA, especially in Billund, normally the procedures are radar controlled. It tells the pilot that you know he's below the MSA and you will take care of it. For example, Scandinavia 123, turn left heading 360, descend to 2,000 feet and radar controlled. The reason for this, just so you know, is because of the very high TV mast of a deterring VFR point. So now you know where it is. That's it.